Hi, welcome to August's Extreme Productivity Experiment. And this one was one I'd been looking forward to and dreading in equal measure. It's called The Abyss. And the idea was, let's see what it's like in the year 2013 to disconnect, to be offline for a month, practicing what in the book I call the ninja stealth and camouflage, right? So it's just the idea of, noticing that your productivity can actually change and your attention changes if you're connected versus disconnected, and what's it like to disconnect. So what was I going to do for this month? So I got rid of email. I was completely offline from work, so I wasn't in the office, and I'd basically given them the brief. If anything really serious happens, call me. If it's not a mega emergency for the business, then just don't tell me about it. I'll find out at the start of September. So just to be completely out of the loop with my business. So at this point, my business was just coming up for 5 years old. And as anyone who has ever set up a business will know, it becomes one of those things that just pervades your thoughts a lot of the time, and you feel obligated to it, and you feel like you need to be there. And I think, as the business starts to grow and mature and kind of, it's almost like having a kid in a way. You have to sort of allow it to find its own feet, and then it gets stronger and stronger, and then it sort of becomes an adult, and it can kind of run on its own 2 feet, sort of thing. And I felt like this being away for a month was really a test of that. It's like, is the business robust enough to just survive without me? And well, guess what? Yeah, it will survive without you and grow without you and stuff. But by the same token, for me, that was kind of like a personal challenge. Like, just being out of the business for that period of time felt like an addiction. I had to wean myself off or something like that. So I was out of the business, and I didn't want access to the internet. So I basically turned off the little Wi-Fi thing on my laptop, and I wanted to have a phone that didn't have an internet connection. So I went into the phone shop in Victoria Station in London, and walked up to the guy. I was like, "Hi, I've got this iPhone. I'm looking to downgrade, please. I'd like a phone that doesn't have the internet." And the guy just looked at me like, okay, this guy's insane. What's he talking about? I was like, yeah, I want the phone without the internet, please. And he was like, we don't do that. And this is like 2013, and there wasn't a phone in this entire shop that didn't have the internet. I had to go to another shop. I found this phone that I may as well have been able to play Snake on. It was so old. You have to press the button 3 times to get a C on a text message, and it didn't do correcting or predictive or all that stuff. So so I got this really crappy little phone, and I was for the first few days of The Abyss for that month, I was at home, and then I was going off to Uganda, which is where I'd lived in 2003, to visit a lot of the people that I lived with and stayed with and stuff. So it's 10 years later, going back and spending that time. And I think there's something really nice about doing this experiment at that time, in that it really allowed me to connect with those people who I'd not seen in a long time, connect with that place which I've not seen in a good few years, probably 4 or 5 years, and and really just get the full experience of that. Not half the experience while I'm like the BlackBerry adverts. It's I'm climbing a mountain, but I'm checking my email at the same time. And that's supposed to be BlackBerry does that as if it's an aspirational thing, hey, you can work and still climb the mountain. And I'm like, you're checking your email now, So anyways, it meant I didn't have those distractions, and I felt like I really focused on the moment and on those people, and on just making sure that I had a really great time during that month. And I'll tell you what was also quite interesting was not having all of those little distractions. There's so many times in the day where you'll want to go check email or check Facebook or check Twitter and see what's going on, see what's happening, and see where the connections are and all that kind of stuff. But if you take that away, what comes into that space is really powerful. So I found that not having that stuff there, one morning, for example, I woke up and I realised that I was carrying the entire structure of this book, and it's actually a book that I'm about to start writing fairly soon, now in 2015, but in 2013 I literally got up, went and sat down by the river and just did the entire brainstorm for this book, in a kind of mind map, spider diagram kind of style, and looked at it and went wow, I've been thinking about this for months, and I feel like I haven't cracked it, and now I have a structure, and it's where did that come from? And there was so many things like that that ended up being really transformative ideas for the business that I took back in September and October, and we started implementing, that I just thought about and just popped into my head whilst there weren't those distractions where I was completely disconnected, where I didn't have email and Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. So that is just a really transformative thing for me, is to realize that, like, the importance of making space and the importance of having the discipline to make the space, even not knowing what's going to come into that space, but what comes into the space is all these amazing ideas. So it really taught me a lot about attention and creativity and where do ideas come from, and allowing yourself that space and that freedom for the ideas to emerge, I think was just a really powerful lesson. Really enjoyed being offline, I have to say. It's certainly, sat here now in 2015, it certainly made me much more intentional about how my relationship with information and the internet, and things like, I don't have email generally on my phone. Like, I know it's there as a facility. On emergency days, I'll turn it on and just have that on for a couple of days if I'm away for a weekend and I really need it or something. But like, or if I'm kind of traveling or whatever, but generally speaking, like, email is turned off on my phone. Generally speaking, notifications are turned off. WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff, like, I have to actually go on and view it rather than it bugging me all the time when there's like someone has left a comment or someone has liked your thing or whatever. So, certainly just being much more intentional about our relationship with that stuff, I found was a big lesson for me. And I think this is going to become, I think this is going to be a zeitgeist if it's not already. Like, I think people are really going to start thinking about, hang on a minute, like, we were fed this stuff, we were fed this connectivity, we all joined in because it was the latest gadget and it was the latest cool thing to do. And actually, what's it doing to our brains? What's it doing to our happiness? What's it doing to our sense of who we are? And I think there's going to be a major backlash. I think, we need to reclaim our attention. And I think I found in that month something really valuable. It was probably also the best meditation I've ever done, was during that month. What a surprise. And I just think there's so much of that about living in the moment, about, just being present and about appreciating that particular moment, rather than, trying to document that moment for something you're going to put online. And I think we're going to start getting away from this idea of living through our online selves and getting back to what it's like to live with our real selves in the real moment that we're experiencing, rather than the moment that we're documenting to be consumed later by somebody else. So that was August, that was the Abyss. At the beginning of the month, I was really sort of dreading the idea of being offline. By the end of the month, I was actually really valuing it and cherishing it, and it was just a really, a really hyper-experienced kind of time in my life that I look back on very fondly now, in the most part. At the very end of that month, I got some quite difficult news, which I'll talk about more on the September video, because it changed completely the rest of these experiments. So we will talk more about that on September. And in the meantime, just to really invite you to think about how you value your attention, how you protect your attention, and giving your attention the space to live and breathe from time to time. I think it's so important. So see you on the next month.